G'day and welcome to this week's video. My name is Robert Gowdy and I'm a financial advisor at Consortium Private Wealth. This week we're going to have a look at, should you downsize your home? It's a question I get reasonably frequently as people age. They consider obviously the amount of space they've got and the cost and time and effort it takes to look after that, as obviously the energy to clean and do those things starts to wane. So first, I think it's worth considering, why should consider downsizing. Well, obviously a smaller garden, getting behind the mower obviously physically becomes particularly hard, and just time and effort and the energy and the want to do things can change over time. I see that with clients that, and why I encourage them in the first half of their retirement to go as hard as they possibly can within the realms of what they can afford in terms of their travel, because in the second half of their retirement either they will physically not be able to or mentally can't be bothered. So I think that's obviously a very valid reason why you may want to downsize. So smaller garden, less space to clean and look after. Potentially it can be lower ongoing costs when it comes to rates, the insurance that you pay. If you've got less smaller place, you've got less contents in there, so that's a reduction in not only the insurance to insure the smaller home that you're in, but also the reduced amount of contents as well. Potentially you can sell down an expensive property and move into something that is considerably cheaper, and that can release capital. And I think that would be one of the main reasons out of the list we've got there, is that if money's been chewed up, other retirement assets have been utilised, that's a wonderful way to access capital. Now the government allows to use the downsizer contributions, where people can put in once off after age 65, as long as you've been in the property for quite some time. I think we've done a separate video on that, but it can contribute to superannuation and ensuring that money is potentially tax-free. So there's some of the reasons why you would consider it. Reasons to stay, well, there's obviously, if you retain your property, you've got plenty of room for the family. The home we're often talking about downsizing from was where the family were brought up. Obviously, I think there's a lot of psychological and emotional reasons why you may want to stay there. That's where the family was brought up, and the kids would like to come home there as well when the opportunity arises. From a pure financial point of view, and this I don't think can be understated at all, the cost of buying and the cost of selling is really expensive. The cost to sell is clearly around the conveyancing work and also the commissions that it takes to sell. These things are not, they are very expensive. And on the buying side, on top of your conveyancing work, stamp duty. Stamp duty is a horrendous cost, and one that I question all the time, or at least question my clients around the investment property, or that is paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Is that reasonable? And I would argue that it is far from reasonable, and it's been a monster cash cow for Australian governments over many years. So that can't be understated. The cost of getting in and out is really expensive. And often it's, if it's a sideways move in terms of costs, you just get a newer home, but you don't get a release in capital. That's and sometimes replacement can be a more expensive option, which makes it really unattractive. And lastly, here you go. Last one is moving. It's really just not that much fun, and not something that you'd really want to do. So what are your alternatives? I think obviously you could sell and go and rent. That frees up a lot of money. That can particularly help single pensioners, so people that are of pension age and receiving a age pension via Centrelink. If you own your house and you're a single age pensioner, and you're finding it really tight, well, it is really tough. They're the people in society that do it tough, where they're running a car, running a house, and getting $24,500 per year. They could do it as a couple, but as a single, it's really tough. So selling and renting is an option, but I definitely seek good sound advice before you implement that strategy and get your budgeting right. moving to a retirement village. Depending on the retirement village you go to, there are many that ask for significant lump sums up front to purchase the right to stay there, but they take a lot of that money on the way out, so you need to understand those contracts really carefully. I think if you search retirement village within our channel here, you'll see Ashley's done a video on that that gives you a bit of understanding. But there are villages where you just pay 85% of what your fortnightly age pension is, and there's no risk that there's going to be a $50,000 to $100,000 hit at the back end. And one that I always give to people is just stay at home, and if you choose to stay at home, just buy in the help. And that's why I've got this graphic here that we like our homes. We've been there, many of these people have been there for decades. They love it. Why would you want to move? And so if you need someone to come and do the lawns, do the gardening, prune the roses, whatever it is, and you've got the means, obviously it's got to make sense financially, but use your financial means to pay, buy in the help, and that'll allow you to stay there for longer. And that can even, that even relates to bringing in, obviously, in-home care when you get to a stage where, going to a nursing home, aged care facility is not on the cards, and you can afford to bring in that help, then again, buy in the help. I hope that's of value. Thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For those that have, thanks very much, and we will catch you next week. Check out the resources below. There's always good educational material there for you, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening.